Last thing on the agenda, so the Hawks trade plans. So they've missed out on Mackay and Radaglia and Henry. So what are they looking at the moment?
Yeah, this is an interesting one. I tried to have a look at what Hawthorn could do if they were still in the market for a key defender. So as you mentioned, no Radaglia, no Mackay. It's a bit of a double blow. It would have cost them a little bit from a Radaglia standpoint. So I think that's probably lucky that they missed because they want to be holding on to early selections. Mackay would have been a free agent and therefore free. Unless North were matching a bid, probably wasn't going to happen. So who do they look at for this year? Who's available? Adam Tomlinson's another one that's kind of off the market now. Brandon Zerk-Thatcher's looking to go to Port. So some of the better or more reliable and experienced key defenders off the market.
Yep.
Dougal Howard contracted, so that's kind of makes it a bit harder. But he's one that's probably been floated. Guys like Nick Caulfield and Tom Doedee probably aren't the tall ones if they want a tall key defender, but those two guys a bit more on offer than most. Will Gould and Caleb Marchbank, just younger or less experienced, but another couple that aren't signed for next season. And then do you look at, do you bide your time and wait 24 months when you've got a Jack Henry, a Josh Battle, a Nick Haynes, a Nathan Murphy off contract, and they kind of make a big splash next year when they've been saving their cash. And Sam Mitchell said that earlier this year. Like they weren't going to look at a big free agency fish in 2023, and it was likely going to be 2024. So there's some guys who are free agents next year or off contract next year, and that's who they could look at. They've also got Will McCabe coming through the draft, first round selection most likely, one of the better intercept key backs. So he's one that adds to their list, but is adding youth is not. I don't know if he'll have an immediate impact. So there's something to consider there. And you also have to think that they've got a lot of guys off contract next year. So Chankle Chia, Josh Weddle, Blake Hardwick, I think Denver Granger Barras, James Blank, all these guys aren't signed beyond 2024. So they've got a lot to do in-house. And then you look at players on the way out as well. So outside of just the back line, Jacob Kaczynski looking to get to Richmond. He's a player that they maybe could have looked to move into defence if they thought that his time forward was probably up. Tyler Brockman, another one looking to go west. Mass D'Ambrosio, according to AFL.com, is trying to get to Hawthorn. So that's an interesting one and more of a half-back flank utility option. So I think that'll be a good get for them if he doesn't cost too much. But I think Essendon should be playing hardball to keep him, given they've reportedly offered him a deal anyway. It's another one that another club that's going to be quite busy and going to be an intriguing one is Hawthorn, given if they keep themselves in the key defensive market or if they kind of turn their attention elsewhere or to the future and look at who's off contract next year. Yeah,
they're going to be an interesting one to watch. So where would you expect what are their expectations for next season then?
Hawthorn?
Yeah,
I think they can make a bit of a jump. I don't know how significant it'll be.
They surprised a lot of teams this year.
Yeah, I thought 7 wins or whatever it was. They've got a lot of the right pieces in play. Like they settled on their backline early in this rebuild, had all the right names right where they want them, and maybe they just want to tinker with that a little bit and add to it. Their midfield group was probably the second block that they wanted to focus on, and they did a lot of that through the draft. So you look at Will Day into John Newcomb, Josh Ward into Cam McKenzie, James Warple's been around, and he had the season. I think the club was certainly after him. Looking for him to have. So the midfield group is locked in. You add in guys like Connor McDonald as well to that. Dylan Moore can go through. And then the forward line is the issue, I think. If Mitch Lewis doesn't play, they've got problems. I think they had a winning record this year when it was him and James Sicily were playing together at either end of the field. So you only have to look at maybe that. And it just shows how important those two are at either end. So a supporting player for Mitch Lewis is critical. And that's why the Kaczynski loss could have quite an impact if Lewis goes down again and they've kind of got no one to kick to. So I think a key forward for them will be on their list. Kel Shadir is a father-son who was quite impressive for Sandringham over the weekend in the Coates Talent League Grand Final. So whether he's certified top draftee or draft selection that they want, or if they look him at the rookie draft or whatever, that'll be an interesting one just to see whereabouts he's selected. But he's had a pretty good back end of the year. So Kel Shadir, another one to look out for the Hawks' draft plans. I don't know. Next year, I think they can jump up a few spots, but they've got a lot of clubs around them that are probably on the way up. Look at Gold Coast, look at Fremantle. I think maybe they could surpass clubs like Geelong. and maybe even Essendon. Essendon are going to be in a pretty interesting position, I think, this time next year, and just about where they're sitting. But I think the Hawks should be coming up. They're not the only one in that group, and they should be breaking away, I think, from North Melbourne and West Coast.
Yeah.
But just how far or who they can jump is going to be interesting.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you're sort of more thinking about who's going to drop down rather than who's going to, because a lot of clubs are going to be pushing up. But that should wrap it up for today. So thanks, Mitch.
Thank you.
Got a lot done there. And don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. And also, this is available as a podcast now if you prefer to listen to this rather than just watch it. So if you just search Zero Hanger AFL Podcast on all your podcast apps, it's available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all that stuff. And don't forget, you can catch all the latest AFL news at zerohanger.com.